I was watching some of this Justin Fields tape you were going over. For I watched the 2 games you did, so I watched what you did last night and a few weeks ago.
Against Alabama. Okay,
yeah.
So what do you see?
I also watched the Clemson game. I just want to preface by saying
he was very good against Clemson.
If you want to see Justin Fields' best game,
at his best,
go watch Clemson.
Yes,
I'll tell you why I'm into Justin Fields. It's for. I think there's a lot of positives with Justin, and before I get fully into this, I have a nugget I'm going to drop at some point, so just be ready for that.
I'm ready. All right.
But I think with Justin Fields, the thing I would be really into if I were drafting him is the fact that if you look at him up to his college, up until he goes to Georgia, up until he goes to Ohio State, what he was doing beforehand. I mean, those Elite 11 camps are super famous, and you can go and watch them on YouTube and all that stuff. He beat out Trevor Lawrence in the Elite 11 camp they did when they were both like 18 going into college. And if you look at his college tape, there's a few bad games in 2020, but man, if you look at his 2019 year, there's nothing but positives there. Up until the Clemson game, he'd only thrown like 1 interception that entire season. I mean, he put on a really good 2019 season. So I'm into him for all those reasons. And then I would ask you this, Grant. I think the way I've been trying to measure rookie quarterbacks is off the Baker Mayfield scale, is that if you can get to that skill level or better, you are by far and away worth it. It makes sense money wise, like everything, right? So I think he can be that level of player, if not better, by his second or third year. I don't think that's out of the picture or out of the question at all. And I think in the Shanahan system and in our offense, he would be really interesting in that he would open up the playbook way more than anyone we have on the roster now. I think there's no question about that. The deep balls he would be able to throw. I think some of the red zone stuff we do with him in terms of RPO and all that kind of stuff, that could really unlock some aspects of the offense that just haven't been unlocked yet in San Francisco. So I'm interested in him for all those reasons. And then I think when you look at the criticisms of him, you look at all the one-read stuff, a lot of that is also just because of the way Ohio State runs their system, the way they run their offense, and the way they ask him to do things. So I would be into him for all those reasons. But again, I saw what you were saying and some of the negatives you were saying about him, and I think those are really great things to point out. But I would argue on the other hand, if you look at all the other quarterbacks who would be available to them in the first round, they have worse weaknesses and things that you just can't make up one way or the other. With Mac Jones, it's physical. I think he would have in the Shanahan offense the least downside of all of those guys. Am I wrong?
Look, I'm not going to make definitive statements about these quarterbacks because it's hard. But I'm just telling you what I see. And I definitely see why he was so hyped out of high school, why everyone thinks he has the upside. I mean, look at him, man. He's huge. I mean, he's not tall, but he's thick, and he's a really fast, good athlete. I mean, strong. He's got it all. He's got all the tools, the physical tools, and his highlights are great.
Yeah,
and
I was just gonna say real quick. I love your comparison for him in terms of Dak Prescott because I think the body that's very similar. The body is
the same body.
It's the same. So
it's the same body, and he might even be faster than Dak Prescott. He could be Dak Prescott with 4.5 speed.
Definitely.
All I'm saying is when you watch him on television, he's impressive. When you watch him on his highlights, he's impressive. And he only has had a few bad games, but when you watch the coaches film of those bad games, and even the good games, what I noticed from him, and maybe it's nitpicky, but all I'm saying is he's a project. I don't think he's ready to go.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, the inexperience, and also Ohio State. A lot of people say, well, it's not his fault. It's the nature of the offense. Well, okay, whatever it is, hasn't had a lot of reps of doing what he's going to have to do in the NFL. It's not his fault. It's Ohio State's fault. That's one of the reasons Ohio State doesn't produce NFL quarterbacks. Historically, they're not really preparing quarterbacks for the NFL. They're preparing quarterbacks to win the Heisman and put up great numbers in college. So anyway, when I see him on the coach's tape, and you tell me if you saw the same thing, I see a guy who, first of all, has a ton of time and space in the pocket, whether he wants to use it or not. He just does. But all these quarterbacks at great schools do. He has a ton of time and space in the pocket. Also, when you slow it down, and it's easy for me to see it in slow motion, but I'm not playing quarterback. He has to see it quick. When you slow it down, I feel like on every play at Ohio State, there's one guy open, at least one guy open. And his ability to find that guy quickly and efficiently isn't there yet, in my opinion. He doesn't see he doesn't see a lot of open guys, and it's okay because He's so athletic. He can hold the ball. He can run. I mean, he can make things happen even if he's not executing like precisely. And that execution comes with experience. So all I see is a guy who doesn't really execute that well right now. He could in the future. And, you know, maybe on the Niners, that would be the good place for him to develop. But also, like, the other thing that bothered me against Indiana, Indiana was a really good defense with a really good defensive coordinator. And what I showed in that clip was they kept bringing that same blitz up the middle. You saw what I'm saying? Like, where they'd have like 2-3 guys coming in the A gap or the B gap. And it took him until the fourth quarter to actually beat that with a throw. And it's like, that's an experience to me, because when I watch Sam Darnold in the NFL, it's a lot of that stuff. It's like a very good athlete, not as good of an athlete as Fields, but a very good athlete who doesn't quite know how to play the position, and defensive coordinators take advantage. Oh, you don't know what to do against a blitz? Well, let me just show you nothing but blitzes in this game. That's what's going to happen to him, and he'll develop or he won't.
Well, and I think that's an excellent thing to point out, and I completely 1000% agree with what all you're saying. And what I would say to that is, I think, you know, just like what I was saying earlier, I think if you take all the Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, you take all those guys, Justin Fields, I think, would be the best option in terms of what the Niners could develop with him and what they could actually turn him into.
Yeah,
that's why
compare him and Mac Jones. Mac Jones has no physical gifts. Justin Fields has all the physical gifts. Mac Jones has developed anticipation because he has to have it. Justin Fields hasn't yet. Justin Fields has not. When I watch Justin Fields, he sees a guy open and he throws it. He's a little late. And I think that's part of the reason he doesn't throw a bunch of picks. Kind of like Tua at Alabama. He sees it, he throws it. The guys are open a lot of the time, and he has time and space to do what he's got to do. That's
so, Grant.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, because I'll get to my nugget that I was telling you about in a second. After this, what's the connection with Kyle Shanahan? Because I know I saw the picture of them at the quarterback camp. Is there anything besides that, or is that just a picture that was getting thrown?
I mean, Kyle and his dad basically have their own Elite 11. It's called the Quarterback Collective, and it's run by, I think, their agent. I forget, Richmond Flowers. I mean, they're very much. I think they fund it. It's very much their thing, and they want to promote it. And the way you promote it is to get the best high school quarterbacks in the country to come. And Justin Fields has been hyped forever. So having Justin Fields at your camp is an advertisement, right? I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, we don't want. Yes, you want Justin Fields. He's a high school kid. He's got a lot of attention. Help him. And I don't know if it means that they feel he's a perfect fit for what they're doing in the Niners. It just means that he was a perfect fit for helping grow the Quarterback Collective 5 years ago.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. And the only reason I bring that up is because I'm about to bring up what I'm about to do
let's
next.
do it.